We are recording.
Start. Hello, Kitteh.
Hello, Dorkus.
Hi, viewers.
And welcome to the No One Asked You podcast.
For this particular series, I am joined by my wonderful co-host,
ThatDarnKitteh.
ThatDarnKitteh. And I are both going into the story completely new with almost no knowledge of the story or world.
Each segment, we intend to cover what happens in each new chapter and discuss our experience along the way. This is Mistborn Abridged, a blind read-through, and today we will be covering chapter 28.
Chapter 28!
Yeehaw.
Yes. This was quite a chapter.
An interesting shift was made. Some new eyes were seen through.
Yes, we get a bit of a curveball this chapter in the form of a new POV.
Yeah. Was not expecting that, but I'm happy about it. What do you think?
Agreed. I had wondered earlier on in the book if we were going to be getting more POVs. And as we got farther and farther along, I had sort of built up this assumption that, okay, no, it's just going to be Vin and Kelsier for the rest of the book. That's fine. And then no, it wasn't.
By the way,
and look, Alan's not my favorite character.
Yeah,
but we get some interesting insights into House Venture this chapter. We get a lot of intrigue and some very top secret information.
And further maneuvering things that are happening around it. So the game of houses is being played in this chapter.
Indeed.
And we do get some look, I like that we got the POV of Ellen, because we got some questions, some speculations and things, just some insights that we wanted from his POV anyway. We have discussed that we wanted to know more about his relationship with his father and whether he really did like Vin. So yeah, I think it's a good time for us to start learning that. We did want to know it. And he's become more relevant recently. So it's okay. I'm happy to meet him properly, to go into his brain. And it's quite brief.
Yes, but very important. I suspect what he does in this chapter and what we see him do in this chapter will have very impactful threads.
Yeah, we had to see this happen. Definitely.
Now, I didn't get as much time to spend thinking about this chapter as I would have liked to this week. There was something that sort of stuck out to me as puzzling. We'll get to it when we get to it in the chapter, I think. Yeah?
Okay, let's get to it.
Indeed. Sometimes my companions claim that I worry and question too much. However, while I may wonder about my stature as the hero, there is one thing that I have never questioned: the ultimate good of our quest. The deepness must be destroyed. I have seen it, and I have felt it. This name we give it is too weak a word, I think. Yes, it is deep and unfathomable, but it is also terrible. Many do not realize that it is sapient, but I have sensed its mind, such that it is, the few times I have confronted it directly. It is a thing of destruction, madness, and corruption. It would destroy this world, not out of spite or out of animosity, but simply because that is what it does.
Okay, interesting point here. Yours said it is sapient. Mine said It is sentient. I mean, that's not that much of a difference, but it was an interesting difference. Sapient really does make you think of a person. This is sentience. It's a little bit further removed from humanity, in my opinion, the word. So it doesn't change the facts too much. It just changes the feeling, the tone of that word. Yeah. That word just makes a feeling different. Makes me feel different. But I don't think if I'd read either way, What am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that it's not a huge difference. Done?
They are definitely two different words.
Yes, they are two different words, but they essentially factually mean the same thing. That there is, like, if you're a sapient. Yeah, well, look, it has a mind. But that factually, both of those words gives me it has a mind and consciousness. Sapient, though, does add an element of, no, it's human. It's human. That's what I think. So it's an extra element, but I'm saying actually what needs to be conveyed here is it's got a mind.
Yeah, what I got from that was Cthulhu.
From sapient or sentient.
From the whole passage.
The whole passage. Okay.
I'm almost wondering if it's like a Cthulhu-like monster.
Interesting. We will see. A few times, and I've confronted it directly. It's weird that this is more about it that confuses me, where it's like he's been able to confront it in his mind, or there's some sort of confrontation, but then he also has to go someplace to fight it. It's a weird force.
Yeah.
For me, it's
or Galactus. It's like Galactus.
Yeah. It's a force as well as a physical manifestation, in my opinion. So, like, if he's able to have confronted it or felt it and whatever, you don't have to be near it. But then there's also some location that he's been journeying to to show he is the hero, or to actually go and confront the baddie. I'm getting tired of just not knowing. Okay, I'm done. Okay, I'm done. I want to know more. I'm done starting the epigraph and going, please tell me more. Like, just I can't carry on like this.
And then there's the whole, he is completely convinced of the ultimate good of the quest. Yeah.
When you read that, what really came to mind was actually Calthea for me, because I was like, that's one of the things that he kind of came to in the previous chapter. Oopsie, excuse me. Not so much in the previous. Let me rephrase that. It brought Calthea to mind, because Calthea also has this greater good in mind, the ultimate good of what he's set out to do, and how he tried to put that onto the crew as well.
Are you seeing any parallels between the deepness and how it's described here and the Lord Ruler, particularly as he was described at the executions?
Yes. I mean, just think about it. It would destroy this world, not out of spite or out of animosity, but simply because this is what it does. That is what it does. Like, for me, that is the Lord Ruler. Like, it's kind of, you've lived so long, you should be wiser, but actually what you've done is you've just destroyed and created more strife. And so I feel like, yeah, the theory of the deepness having truly corrupted the Lord Ruler feels quite strong.
I think so. And especially with like the Lord Ruler's soothing being so terrible.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, lots to glean from that epigraph.
For me, it's lots to ponder. I haven't gleaned nothing. I gleaned what you told me. Okay. Let's get into the ball.
Let's do it. Keep Lakal's ballroom was shaped like the inside of a pyramid. The dance floor was set on a waist-high platform at the very center of the room, and the dinner tables sat on 4 similar platforms surrounding it. Servants scuttled through the trenches, running between the platforms, delivering food to the dining aristocrats. 4 tiers of balconies ran along the inside perimeter of the pyramidal room, each one a little closer to the point at the top, each one extending just a little bit more over the dance floor. Though the main room was well lit, the balconies were shadowed by their overhangs. The design was intended to allow proper viewing of the keep's most distinctive artistic feature, the small stained glass windows that lined each balcony. Lakal noblemen bragged that while other keeps had larger windows, Keep Lakal had the most detailed ones. That was really interesting. I think that Brandon Sanderson has done a really wonderful job thus far in this book of really differentiating between each house's home.
buildings. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even between each family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's he gives each one a different vibe. So it's a good way to, we don't really know the families too well, but we get an idea of them from these descriptions.
Yeah, and how they compare and contrast to the others as well.
Yeah.
Vin had to admit that they were impressive. She'd seen so many stained glass windows over the last few months that she was beginning to take them for granted. Keep Lacal's windows, however, put most of them to shame. Each of these was an extravagant, detailed marvel of resplendent color. Exotic animals pranced, distant landscapes enticed, and portraits of famous noblemen sat proudly. There were also, of course, the requisite pictures dedicated to the Ascension. Vin could recognize these more easily now, and she was surprised to see references to things she had read in the logbook. The hills of emerald green, the steep mountains with faint wave-like lines coming from the tips, a deep dark lake, and blackness, the deepness, a chaotic thing of destruction.
He defeated it, but what is it?
Perhaps the end of the logbook would reveal more. Vin shook her head, leaving the alcove and its black window behind. She strolled along the second balcony wearing a pure white gown, an outfit she would never have been able to imagine during her life as a ska. Ash and soot had been too much a part of her life, and she didn't think she'd even had a concept of what a pristine white looked like. That knowledge made the dress more wondrous to her. She hoped she would never lose that, the sense within her of how life had been before. It made her appreciate what she had so much more than the real nobility seemed to.
Mm-hmm.
Pure white dress. Our conversation about what the white horse represented had me wondering, what does this pure white dress represent for Vin? Does it represent purity? Did something... We know she has had some strong determinations after the executions.
Well, and yeah, we've had she's had some struggles as well with how does she morally struggle with being or liking noblemen, and she's kind of moved a little bit through that. She's like, okay, I'm not going to be Calcier about this. I'm not going to, I'm not going to want to kill them all. I've decided that I'm going to believe that there are good ones, but also I know that there is a necessity to remove some because of those executions. So I feel like there is some sort of, if we could look at it symbolism wise, she has got some sort of purity. She's come through. She's got clarity. I would feel. I don't know. Maybe I'm just reaching for an interpretation.
We had Kelsier's big moment after he spoke with Menace, and I'm hoping that this is representative of Vin's equivalent. She's had her
crisis.
She has made a determination for how she is going to move forward, I think.
Yeah.
And I think the white dress is supposed to be connected to that in some way, personally.
Yeah.
But
I like that interpretation more than, relating it back to it's not the death of the death, and I don't know, the interpretation we had for the white horse.
Right.
And then there is also just actually, if we're marrying this interpretation of this dress with her change, it's right there, straight after she was worrying about, not worrying, we were worrying about her forgetting where she came from, and what she's done. Oh, well, in this little, sorry, Daisy is really, really distracting me. Could you not, Daisy? Could you go in here? I love you very much, but I'm trying to have some sort of coherent thought, and your butt is in my face. Okay. So what I was trying to say is that this interpretation actually is a lot more. It's not just, oh, well, we're trying to reach for it. It's actually put right the whiteness of this dress is put right before an explanation of her saying, I hope, basically she hopes she doesn't forget where she's come from. And we were in earlier chapters wondering about how easy she seemed. Even we were frustrated. She seemed easily persuaded, and she seemed to have forgotten the realities of the nobleman and things like that. But here she's kind of combined both of her views. She's got, okay, well, I know where I come from. I can appreciate being functioning as a noblewoman, fake one, or but at the same time, gosh, I'm floundering. Help.
Oh, well, okay, I will cut you off here and say that it's interesting that there is a white dress in this chapter and it's getting some focus. And in my mind, I hear white dress. It's not unreasonable to think wedding dress. And then there's a bit of focus later on regarding Elend and a gold ring.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's anything there, if that's me grasping at straws.
Yeah, we can't, you talk, yeah, I don't want to take that leap. Good Lord. But, I mean, Vin would. That's what she's thinking.
Probably grasping at straws here on this one, I think.
Okay.
All right, moving on then. She continued along the balcony, seeking her prey. Glittering colors shone from backlit windows, sparkling light across the floor. Most of the windows glowed inside small viewing alcoves along the balcony, and so the balcony before her was interspersed with pockets of dark and color. Vin didn't stop to study any more of the windows. She'd done quite a bit of that during her first balls at Keep Lacal. This night she had business to attend to. She found her quarry halfway down the east balcony walkway. Lady Cliss was speaking with a group of people, so Vin lingered, pretending to study a window. Cliss's group soon broke up. One could generally only take so much of Cliss at a time. The short woman began to walk along the balcony toward Vin. When she drew close, Vin turned as if in surprise.
Why, Lady Cliss, I haven't seen you all evening.
Cliss turned eagerly, obviously excited by the prospect of another person with whom to gossip.
Lady Valette,
she said, waddling forward. I laughed at the waddle.
Yeah, I was like, oh, is that what she like? Okay. I don't know if he used waddle before, but I did also have a bit of a chuckle there. And also I had almost forgotten her voice, but Valley Girl. Okay. Lady Valette, you missed Lord Cave's ball last week. Not due to a relapse of your earlier malady, I hope. No, I spent the evening dining with my uncle.
Cliss said, disappointed. A relapse would have made a better story.
Well, that's good. I hear you have some interesting news about Lady Trentpedry de Luce. I myself have heard some interesting things lately.
She eyed Cliss, implying that she'd be willing to trade tidbits.
Oh, that! Well, I heard that Trentpedry isn't at all interested in a union with House Aim, though her father is implying that there will be a wedding soon. You know how the Aim sons are, though. Why, Fedrin is an absolute buffoon.
Inwardly, Vin rolled her eyes. Cliss kept on talking, not noticing that Vin had something she wanted to share.
Using subtlety on this woman is about as effective as trying to sell bathwater perfumes to a plantation scar. That is interesting. Perhaps Trentpedry's hesitance comes from a House Aim's connection to House Hastings?
Cliss opened her mouth slightly, then her eyes focused on Vin.
Why would that be? Well, we all know what House Hastings is planning. We do?
Vin pretended to look embarrassed.
Oh, perhaps that isn't known yet. Please, Lady Cliss, forget that I said anything. Forget? Why, it's already forgotten. But come now, you can't just stop. What do you mean? I shouldn't say. It's just something I overheard my uncle talking about. Your uncle? What did he say? You know that you can trust me. Well, he said that House Hastings was relocating a lot of resources back to its plantations in Southern Dominance. My uncle was quite happy. Hastings has withdrawn from some of its contracts, and my uncle was hoping to get them instead. Relocating. Why, they wouldn't do that unless they were planning to withdraw from the city. Could you blame them? I mean, who wants to risk what happened to House Techiel? Who indeed?
Cliss said. She was practically shaking with eagerness to share the news.
Anyway, please, this is obviously only hearsay. You probably shouldn't tell anyone about it. Of course. Excuse me, I need to go refresh myself. Of course.
Vin said, watching the woman zip away toward the balcony stairs. Well, she left in a hurry.
So subtle. Really. What could she be doing? I feel like I chose the right voice for her.
I agree.
When I do execute it, it works.
Yeah, that was a very functional exchange thing, I think. It happened very quickly, and I think that's fine. I don't need to sit through pages and pages of Lady Kliss, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Because of she's very useful because you don't need to have as much subtlety. So it's established that you don't need to be that subtle to speak to her and to give her information, to feed her curiosity or whatever. She's very easily handled, easily manipulated. So it makes sense that it would be a short interaction, and we don't need a long interaction from her in any case. So it all works. It all fits for me. I do like the maneuvering. It's simple compared to, you know, what the other kind of political intrigue. But yeah, it does what it needs to do. It's nice that she's useful. She's there. She'll embellish the story. She'll do all of this. She's so useful. Thanks.
Yup. Vin smiled. House Hastings was making no such preparations. Hastings was one of the strongest families in the city and wouldn't likely withdraw. However, Dockson was back at the shop forging documents that, when delivered to the right places, would imply that Hastings was planning to do what Vin had said. If all went well, the entire city would soon expect a Hastings withdrawal. Their allies would plan for it and might begin to withdraw themselves. People seeking to buy weapons would instead look to other places, fearing that Hastings wouldn't be able to make good on contracts once it left. When Hastings didn't withdraw, it would make them look indecisive. Their allies gone, their income weakened, they could very well be the next house to fall.
I like that explanation. I do require such things, okay? Maybe other people would have been able to glean all of that from it, but I like having it written there. I like having it explained to me.
It's very clear, it's very concise. We understand the machinations that's going on.
It's not too heavy. It's there. Maybe people would be like, no, I prefer subtlety, but I'm like, no, this is great for me. Thank you.
I think it goes back to what I've said in reference to other elements of the writing style. It is accessible.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
House Hastings, however, was one of the easy ones to work against. It had a reputation for extreme subterfuge, and people would believe that it was planning a secret retreat. In addition, Hastings was a strong mercantile house, meaning it depended a great deal upon its contracts to survive. A house with such an obvious dominating source of income also had an obvious weakness. Lord Hastings had worked hard to increase his house's influence over the last few decades, and in doing so he had extended his house's resources to their limits. Other houses were far more stable. Vin sighed, turning and strolling down the walkway, eyeing the massive clock set between the balconies on the other side of the chamber. Venture would not fall easily. It remained powerful through the sheer force of fortune. Though it participated in some contracts, it didn't rely on them like other houses. Venture was rich enough and powerful enough that mercantile disaster would only jostle it. In a way, Venture's stability was a good thing, for Vin at least. The house had no obvious weaknesses, so maybe the crew wouldn't be too disappointed when she couldn't discover any way to bring it down. After all, they didn't absolutely need to destroy House Venture. Doing so would simply make the plan go more smoothly. Whatever happened, Vin had to make sure that Venture didn't suffer the same fate as House Tekiel. Their reputation destroyed, their finances unhinged, the Tekiels had tried to pull out of the city, and this final show of weakness had been too much. Some of Tekiel's nobility had been assassinated before they left. The rest had been found in the burned-out ruins of their canal boats, apparently hit by bandits. But Vin knew of no thieving band who would dare slaughter so many noblemen. Kelsier still hadn't been able to discover which house was behind the murders, but the Luthadel nobility didn't seem to care who the culprit was. House Tekiel had allowed itself to grow weak, and nothing was more embarrassing to the aristocracy than a great house that couldn't maintain itself. Kelsier had been right. Though polite groups met at balls, the nobility were more than willing to stab each other square in the chest if it benefited them. So I liked that passage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think it really highlights the viciousness and the precarious situation that everyone in noble society is under.
Yeah, you can have everything and then lose it within a very short period of time.
Once you ante in, you are in. There is no withdrawal.
Yeah, you're the only way out is death. Eventually, basically, it just you can be ruined, and nobody will have any mercy for you.
Yeah,
there's it's just the lack of mercy is highly apparent. Yeah, I would look. You can see Vin just being like, "No, I don't want everyone in Venture to die." Like, I think she would be okay with some of them, but who she's not. She's like,
of
okay,
course.
Let's keep them alive. So. Yeah, she still does harbor the thing of, okay, well, we don't have to kill all of them, right? Okay, just can I keep Ellen? Can I please keep him? So that's basically what she's got underneath all of that. But I also like the way that it was also explained how this house did eventually fall, and how Kelsey's plan actually is working, because you destroyed a whole house just through rumors and just messing around, basically. He doesn't even know who was behind the last murders. He just started a chain reaction that made its way to its final conclusion.
Yes. And Kelsier didn't even have to be the one to finish them off.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now
he does it. Yeah.
Go on.
No, I'll end it there. I'll say exactly.
Okay. Now, I will say there were a few things that I didn't particularly like about this chapter. We'll get into some of them as they come up. But one of the things is I actually liked this passage so much, I was a little bit disappointed when we actually do find out later in the chapter who it was that murdered all of the Techiels. I felt that kind of undercut the potential mystery of it for a little bit. You know what I mean?
Oh, so you would have left it for a bit longer. Yeah.
A little bit.
It was like it was too easy.
Yeah, but that's like very small or very, very low on my list of complaints regarding this chapter.
Okay. Then Vin thinks, kind of like thieving crews, the nobility really aren't that different from people I grew up around.
The atmosphere was only made more dangerous by its polite niceties. Underneath that front were plots, assassinations, and, perhaps most importantly, Mistborn. It was no accident that all of the balls she had attended recently had displayed great numbers of guards, both wearing armor and not. The parties now served the additional purpose of warning and showing strength.
Elend is safe. Despite what he thinks of his family, they've done a good job of maintaining their place in the Luthadel hierarchy. He's the heir. They'll protect him from assassins.
She wished those assertions sounded just a bit more convincing. She knew that Chanelaria was planning something. House Venture might be safe, but Elend himself was a little bit oblivious sometimes. I like that line. There was something very feminine about that, I think.
And eye-rolly at man, yes. And it is kind of reflected on the other side in Elend's POV.
Yes.
Yeah.
Elend's a bit condescending. I don't like him.
Yeah.
If Shan did something against him personally, it might or might not be a major blow against House Venture, but it would certainly be a major blow against Vin. Lady Valette Renault, I do believe that you're late. Vin turned to see Elend lounging in an alcove to her left. She smiled, glancing down at the clock, noticing that it was indeed a few minutes past the time when she had promised to meet him.
I must be picking up bad habits from some friends of mine,
she said, stepping into the alcove. Now, see, I didn't say it was a bad thing. Why, I'd say that it is a lady's courtly duty to be a bit dilatory. It does gentlemen good to be forced to wait upon a woman's whims, or so my mother was always fond of telling me.
It sounds like she was a wise woman,
Vin said. The alcove was just large enough for two people standing sideways. She stood across from him, the balcony overhang a short distance to her left. a marvelous lavender window to her right, their feet nearly touching. Oh, I don't know about all that. She married my father, after all.
Thereby joining the most powerful house in the final empire? You can't do much better than that, though. I suppose she could have tried to marry the Lord Ruler. Last I knew, though, he wasn't in the market for a wife.
Pity. Maybe he'd look a little less depressed if there were a woman in his life.
I guess that would depend on the woman.
Vin glanced to the side as a small group of courtgoers strolled past.
You know, this isn't exactly the most private location. People are giving us odd looks.
You're the one who stepped in here with me.
Yes, well, I wasn't thinking about the gossip we might start.
Let it start, Ellen said, standing up straight.
Because it will make your father angry?
I don't care about that anymore, Volette. Ellen took a step forward, bringing them closer together. Vin could feel his breath. He stood there for a moment before speaking. I think I'm going to kiss you. Vin shivered slightly.
I don't think you want to do that, Elend.
Why?
How much do you really know about me?
Not as much as I'd like to.
Not as much as you need to, either.
So tell me.
I can't. Not right now.
Ellen stood for a moment, then nodded slightly and pulled away. He walked out onto the balcony walkway. So shall we go for a stroll then?
Yes.
Vin said, relieved, yet a bit disappointed as well.
What a woman. She's like, oh, thank God, but also, wait, no, he should have totally pushed it.
I have strong opinions on that interaction.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But I'm waiting for a specific sentence. I don't remember how quickly the sentence comes out.
Okay. Let's get there.
It's for the best. That alcove has absolutely terrible reading light.
Don't you dare.
Vin said, eyeing the book in his pocket as she joined him on the walkway.
Read when you're with someone else, not me.
But that's how our relationship began.
And that's how it could end, too.
Okay, so that was actually the line. That's how our relationship began. Mm-hmm. So, are they in a relationship?
Well, I guess that is because of the handkerchief. There is that. I mean, they even have meeting places and things like that. So there has been some interaction that we haven't been privy to.
Is that the case, though? Because, and this is going to connect to my actual big complaint for the chapter. When last we saw the two of them, he gave her the handkerchief and she took it. Mm-hmm. She also had Spook's handkerchief. In fact, that was the inciting thing for Ellen to give the handkerchief as well. And then how long after that did the rebellion happen? It happened the next day, didn't it? Mm-hmm. Like, or more specifically, Vin found out the next day, and then immediately they ran out to go, and she was gone for 2 weeks from the city, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Was that the timeline? And then she was pewter dragging for a little while after. I can't imagine she was going to any balls while she was hungover. So, I mean, it could be he's just saying our relationship, as in that's how we met. This is
and also it does also serve the function of saying we are in a relationship by saying that's how our relationship started. It does. It's part of saying, look, we're together. We're a thing. So it doesn't have to be that there has been a relationship. It's like, look, by saying this, I am calling it a relationship. So that also subtly says, hey, we're in a relationship here. So it forms a function. And I did buy this in terms of them just suddenly being very coupley, because it's kind of like there has been a acknowledgement of feelings. So they kind of feel a little more comfortable. Like they're a lot more flirty. They're almost kissed. She takes his arm, things like that. She's very much, I can see, I was okay with that pace change, because I just, also it's part of early relationship stuff. It's like, oh, immediately, sparks are flying, and we're all just going to act like we've known each other. We feel like we've known each other forever, kind of thing. So but I do agree that those points about the time, I'm thinking, wait, when would they have met up to say we're meeting up at the ball. Like, I'm not understanding it, how that would happen, but I'm just like, okay, fine. I'm just going to have to accept the off-screen stuff.
Right. And I can accept that. It's not something I dwelled in tremendously, but it is something I think I've noticed with Brandon Sanderson, is that sometimes he will like lurch a certain relationship forward to a specific place. And
which
I've been
example?
sort of wait. What?
Okay, yeah. I was going to say what would be an example of that, but that would, I guess it's the one where what you would reference is the guy we really hate. Yes, Yedden. It's just, yeah, it's the word relationship threw me off a little bit, but yeah, Yedden went from starting to not hate Calcia or not disapprove of Calcia to loving Calcia.
Yeah. I've softened a bit on it, but not all that much. It's still something that I don't particularly love. And then I've sort of been, I think the reason why I've sort of settled into this not particularly liking this interaction here. I liked the start of the interaction. The wit and the banter was great. But I was wondering, I've been trying to hold it off until we actually get there. In a little while, Elend is going to drop some serious venture secrets on Vin. And I was wondering when I was reading that, is it not a little bit contrived that in the last chapter, she finally had this big emotional breakthrough and determination that she would have to try to find a way to use Elend to wheedle this information out of Elend, and then to suddenly have him just offer up Venture's biggest secret freely like this in the very next thing? It seems a little too easy for me. What do you think?
I understand. I didn't think that on my own. I can agree with you that it is, I can see, that is quite convenient. But I just, again, I went with the flow. I was just accepting, like, okay, cool. She was lucky because it just so happens that he actually feels she underestimated the amount of trust that he has and how over trusting he is of her, how she has actually disarmed him. She doesn't realize that, or she didn't know that. So this is he's like, oh well, now she's mine. Now we've said we're gonna sort of be together, and we've had that really frank discussion. She cried and things like that. So he has this trust for her, and it makes sense that he would be stupid enough in that moment to just be also young and giddy and over trusting. So I was not too upset about it, but I can understand that it would seem like a contrivance. Yeah.
It just happened so fast. I guess I might have preferred a little bit of trying to wheedle it out of him, but the information that he does share is very interesting. And there's a very specific word that Elend uses that I want to talk about, but we'll get to that when we get to it. Yeah.
Yeah. Just one more thing though about the information coming out, and that we don't actually what this has meant is that we haven't had to confront Vin needing to manipulate Elend. She doesn't know, she had a problem with how she going to do that. He doesn't like playing this political game, and now I have to play it with him. So what's happened with this, as you see it, contrivance, what's happened is we haven't had to confront that part of it. She's just been lucky. She can continue to grow her affection for him without guilt, because she does have to confront the guilt of using the information, which she does think about, but she doesn't have to confront the fact that she manipulated him in order to get it. So and then we'll see what goes on in the rest of the chapter, but there's more to this.
Yes. But that's how our relationship began.
And that's how it could end, too,
Vin said, taking his arm. Elend smiled. They weren't the only couple walking the balcony and down below. Other pairs spun slowly to the faint music.
It seems so peaceful. Yet just a few days ago, many of these people stood and watched idly as women and children were beheaded.
She felt Elend's arm, his warmth beside her. Kelsier said that he smiled so much because he felt he needed to take what joy he could in the world, to relish the moments of happiness that seemed so infrequent in the final empire. Strolling for a time beside Ellen, Vin thought she was beginning to understand how Kelsier felt. Valette.
What?
I want you to leave Luthadel.
What?
I've thought about this a lot. You may not realize it, but the city is becoming dangerous. Very dangerous.
I know.
Then you know that a small house without allies has no place in the central dominance right now. Your uncle was brave to come here and try to establish himself, but he chose the wrong time. I think things are going to get out of hand here quite soon. When that happens, I can't guarantee your safety.
My uncle knows what he's doing, Ellen.
This is different, Valette. Entire houses are falling. The Tekiel family wasn't slaughtered by bandits. That was the work of House Hastings. Those won't be the last deaths we see before this is through. So yeah, there was that reveal that happened quickly.
It is, it is quite quick. I don't know why, but it felt like it wasn't that quick. Maybe I paused or something. I went to the bathroom or something like that in between reading. But that is very quick. That's Whiplash. That's quite quick.
Vin thought of Shan again.
But you're safe, right? House Venture? It's not like the others. It's stable.
We're even more vulnerable than the rest, Valette.
But your fortune is large. You don't depend on contracts.
They may not be visible, but they're there, Valette. We put on a good show, and the others assume that we have more than we do. However, with the Lord Ruler's house taxes, well, the only way we maintain so much power in this city is through income. Secret income. Vin frowned, and Ellen leaned closer, speaking almost in a whisper. My family mines the Lord Ruler's adium, Valette. That's where our wealth comes from. In a way, our stability depends almost completely on the Lord Ruler's whims. He doesn't like to bother collecting the atium himself, but he gets very perturbed if the delivery schedule is disrupted. Okay. First off, ooh, yeah.
We just had, we had part of, she was like, you can see the secret. Now it becomes obvious. You can see secret income is definitely a thing because of her explanation she gave previously, where she's like, oh, well, they're stable. They have some contracts. So they just had this magic wealth. And he's like, no. Here's this. It's secret wealth that you notice something about our house and it's actually not what you think. I love that. I actually like that turn.
Yes. And it makes sense.
Yes, absolutely.
The important word that jumped out at me in that was perturbed. What could perturb the Lord Ruler? A lack of atium? I think that this is evidence that the Lord Ruler needs the atium. And we've theorized in the past about how he's probably using the atium to try and stop the deepness in perpetuity. I think this damn near comes close.
No, really, when I first read it as well, I was like, oh yeah, I know exactly why. It didn't even come as a shock. It was like, it was kind of like nailed it. Like we're like, yeah, good. It made sense to me. I agree. It's kind of all but confirmed. It's like what would perturb him? It's not just about his wealth. It's not just about, oh, well, I'm not wealthy anymore and that's a problem. It's like, no, there's something that really is dire if there is not enough atium. Which makes me think, like, why? I understand you need the economy of it to keep it going. So you need it to be wanted by the nobleman to generate wealth, and it is used by the nobleman. But if this is something that, the world depends on, why does he have to let the nobleman have it at all? I don't know. That's just a question for me. It's just like, he has reasons, I suppose.
I assume what he's doling out is probably like the dregs of so small it doesn't even matter.
True. Well, we hope so, if that's what's keeping everything. But also, like, the delivery schedule as well is like, there has to be a certain amount, certain time. Then there is a rate of atium that needs to be maintained.
And I'm just wondering what happens when that one mine runs out.
Yeah. Is there no plan? Because eventually you are going to run out of that. And it's like, okay. And also, why doesn't he, another question, why doesn't he doesn't like to bother collecting the atium himself?
I have a theory on that one.
Okay.
And it's slightly connected to something that Elend is about to say. But basically, I'm wondering if the Lord Ruler's soothing is constant and cannot be turned off, and then that would mess with the atium retrieval.
Yes, that would make sense. That's very astute. I agree. Oh, that makes sense, because he has to be burning it all the time, and doing allomancy in front of atium could burst the crystals and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and Elend's basically about to say that they've been having a bit of trouble lately mining it, and I'm not since ... And I'm basically wondering if when Kelsier escaped, he used as much allomancy as he could to like wreck the place.
But that was 2 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Or a year. Yeah. But even so, you can still do quite some damage. But yeah, then again, also the Lord Ruler himself wouldn't be mining it. So the fact that he's let this one house take care of it is interesting to me. Why? Because couldn't he just have his own minions go and do it? And it doesn't matter. He doesn't have to oversee it personally. So the whole atium shattering thing doesn't really come up too much if you just have the right people going and looking over it. Just get some minions. But he's chosen this house. Yeah.
I'm wondering if Venture was a very close ally to the Lord Ruler way back in the day.
Yeah, there's something that makes them really special, that they are trusted with this.
Gets very perturbed if the delivery schedule is disrupted.
Find out more. This is the secret. This is what Kelsier needs. Oh, Elend, you shouldn't be telling me this.
Okay, so here's the thing. She has that thought, and then she says, you shouldn't be telling me this. Now, we know from the Kliss interaction where she's like, hey, I shouldn't tell you this. And she's doing that to entice Kliss to ask and inquire more. But here, when she says, you shouldn't be telling me this, I kind of think I had read it as more genuine.
No, it is way more genuine.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's kind of like, well, look, I tried to stop him. So I have that moral thing of I tried to stop him, and he told me anyway. So she's covering herself by saying, whoa, hold on, warning. But she isn't saying, shut up. She's not doing that either. So, but yeah, I agree. It was more like, it's more about actually she's hoping he wouldn't. Underneath all of that, she's hoping he wouldn't carry on, even though her instinct said, let's go.
Why not? I trust you. Look, you need to understand how dangerous things are. The atium supply has been having some troubles lately. Ever since, well, something happened a few years ago. Ever since then, things have been... Yep.
Sorry.
Yep.
Okay, I'll let you finish and I'll say that again.
Ever since, well, something happened a few years ago. Ever since then, things have been different. My father can't meet the Lord Ruler's quotas, and last time that happened...
Okay, so there it is. That's what you were talking about in terms of something that happened a few years ago. So definitely that is the Kelsier thing, but apparently it's happened before. So that's another thing. Let's see what happens. The last time that happened.
The last time that happened?
What?
Well, let's just say that things could soon grow very bad for the Ventures. The Lord Ruler depends on that atium, Bulette. It's one of the prime ways he controls the nobility. A house without atium is a house that can't defend itself from Mistborn. Now, it's important. So he's presuming that this is about controlling the nobility. He has no reason to ponder the Lord Ruler's success against the deepness. So this is fine. But I love that there's this layer from us of
the dramatic irony.
It is not about that at all.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I do. And how would Vin go about like explaining, hey, by the way, this entire foundational knowledge that you seem to have, it's, like that reveal is beyond Vin at this point.
Well, even she is still presuming that he won.
Yeah, exactly. She doesn't know. There is this layer.
Why hasn't Kelsey or Vin pondered the possibility that he didn't? Like, especially with Kelsier being so obsessed with how the world used to be because of Mare, why doesn't he, or why hasn't he had a quick thought of, wait, what if he didn't beat it?
And I mean, yeah, I don't know why he wouldn't. I guess it's just unthinkable. Like that's so fun. It's like, again, it's foundational knowledge that to question it would be like they don't even go there because it's too much. But they do touch on it, like their brains just go there. Like Vin, early in the chapter, she goes, he defeated it, but what was it? So it's like she keeps thinking he defeated it, but so you're almost there to think, I need to think about how he defeated it. If I don't know what it was, how do I know he defeated it? Come on, let's go there. So he's teasing us, Branderson. God damn, I love it. It's very good.
Yeah, it's great. A house without Atium is a house that can't defend itself from Mistborn. By keeping a large reserve, the Lord Ruler controls the market, making himself extremely wealthy. He funds his armies by making Atium scarce, then selling extra bits for lavish amounts. If you knew more about the economics of Allomancy, this would probably make a lot more sense to you.
Sorry. Oh, trust me. that I'm laughing for myself, but yeah. She goes, in her head, oh, trust me, I understand more than you think. And now I know far more than I should.
Ellen's expression shifted to a pleasant smile as an obligator strolled along the balcony walkway beside them. The obligator looked them over as he passed, eyes thoughtful within their web of tattoos. Ellen turned back to her as soon as the obligator had passed. I want you to leave. People know that I've paid attention to you. Hopefully they'll assume it was to spite my father, but they could still try to use you. The great houses wouldn't have any qualms about crushing your entire family to get at me and my father. You have to go.
I'll think about it.
There isn't much time left for thinking. I want you to leave before you get too involved with what is going on in this city.
I'm already involved so much more than you think. I said I'd think about it. Look, Ellen, I think you should be worried more about yourself. I think Shan Ilariel is going to try something to strike against you.
Shan? She's harmless.
I don't think she is, Ellen. You need to be more careful.
Look at us. Each one trying to convince the other how dreadfully dire the situation is. Each one bullheadedly refusing to listen to the other. Vin had to admit that was the case. She smiled.
You know what? Sorry. I cringed there. I was like, okay, relax. Just they're like, look at us. Oh, we're such a thing. Oh gosh, I don't know. I'm just okay. God, I'm just kind of like, just get a room kind of thing. Okay. That's what I felt. So I think that's why I don't like it. There's just certain moments where I'm just like, oh, I roll. Maybe it is because I just don't particularly like Ellen that much. He's not exciting to me. So I'm not like, yeah, girl, go get it. So, yeah.
There was something wannabe romantic about it. Something a bit philosopher-y. And I don't mean philosophically. I mean philosopher-y. Because maybe it's part of why I don't like Ellen. Mm-hmm. I don't think he thinks philosophically. I think he thinks like he thinks like what he thinks a philosopher thinks like.
Yes. That's a brilliant sentence structure. I love that. Say it again.
Thank you. I think he thinks like what he thinks a philosopher thinks like.
It's very well done.
Yeah. Rather than what a philosopher actually thinks like. And that line struck me as
one of those.
Oh, I love the poetry of this moment.
Exactly. That's why I don't like him. Like, I'm relaxed. Like, I guess I'm like that. I'm like that. That's why I cringe at this, because I'm like, no, stop it. Like, but so like, from my point of view, I'm just like, don't be cheesy, dude. Like, that's my job. I'm the cheesy one, not the man.
The irony here is that you and I are on a panel show called The Thinkers.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I never claim to think well. I just do think. That's all. That's all I'm promising. Okay.
And that is going to be the ad right there. If you haven't subscribed to ThatDarnKitteh, please do so. She's got a wonderful channel where she does diagrams of all kinds of videos and debates, and she does a panel show on Thursdays. Highly recommend it.
Which Dorkus is a part. So follow for more Dorkus.
If you want. No pressure. Vin had to admit that was the case. She smiled. Ellen sighed. You're not going to listen to me, are you? Is there anything I can do to make you leave?
Not right now. Look, Ellen, can't we just enjoy the time we have together? If things continue as they are, we might not have more opportunities like this for a while.
He considered that, then finally nodded. She could see he was still troubled, but he did turn back to their walk, letting her gently take his arm again as they strolled. They walked together for a time, silent, until something drew Vin's attention. She removed her hands from his arm, instead reaching down to take his hand in her own.
Ooh.
He glanced at her, frowning in confusion as she tapped the ring on his finger.
It really is metal,
she said, a bit surprised despite what she'd been told. Pure gold.
Don't you worry about...
Allomancers? I don't know. They're not the sort of thing I've ever had to deal with. You don't wear metal out on the plantations? Vin shook her head, tapping one of the barrettes in her hair.
Painted wood.
Probably wise. But, well, the longer you stay in Luthadel, the more you'll realize that little we do here is done in the name of wisdom. The Lord Ruler wears metal rings, and therefore so does the nobility. Some philosophers think that's all part of his plan. The Lord Ruler wears metal because he knows that the nobility will mimic him, and therefore give his inquisitors power over them. Important thing to note here, part of his plan, the H is capitalized.
I did notice that. I was like, I know it's just common that that's how they do it, but yeah, his plan, it did make me go, oh yeah, his plan. It's part of, he is a god too. And this is within his normal thinking. So it's understandable how Iland thinks his revolution will take place still under the Lord Ruler. He doesn't really think of ever conquering the Lord Ruler, because that's, why would you ever think of that?
Yeah, I'm curious to go back into previous chapters from Kelsier's POV and see if it's
not capitalized. Yeah.
Interesting.
Let us know in the comments, future Dorkus.
Yes.
Do you agree with the philosophers? I mean,
Ellen shook his head. No. The Lord Ruler, he's just arrogant. I've read of warriors long ago who would run into battle without armor on, supposedly to prove how brave and strong they were. That's how this is, I think, though admittedly on a far more subtle level. He wears metal to flaunt his power, to show how unfrightened, how unthreatened he is by anything we could do to him. Interestingly, I think he does it because he's a ferrochemist.
That's what I thought, yeah. That's what he has. I don't know if he still has piercings now, but yeah, he's a ferrochemist. I think we're kind of settled on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. We just need confirmation, that's all, right? Yeah.
Indeed. No spoilers.
Yeah, shh. No suggestive comments either. Stop it. You can make jokes, I suppose, but yeah, some of them I'm like, oh, you know what it does? It doesn't spoil for me, but it does make me go ooh, and wonder. And I'm like, wait, I don't know. The FOMO of it, the not knowing what you guys are talking about, kills me, but also makes me excited. I don't know. This is a womanly complaint. It's like, carry on doing it, but don't do it. I don't know.
For clarity, we do want you to comment on these videos.
Just yeah, no overt spoilers. Like, if you know, you know, I suppose is a good format.
So Vin thinks to herself,
well, he's willing to call the Lord Ruler arrogant. Perhaps I could get him to admit a little more.
I'm afraid I don't have a whole lot of time tonight, Follette.
That's right. You'll need to go off and meet with your friends.
She glanced at him, trying to gauge his reaction. He didn't seem particularly surprised. He simply raised an eyebrow in her direction. Indeed I will. You're very observant.
It doesn't take much observing. Any time where it keeps Hastings, Venture, Lekal, or Alariel, you run off with the same people.
My drinking friends. An unlikely group in today's political climate, but one that helps annoy my father.
What do you do at those meetings?
We talk philosophy mostly. We're kind of a stuffy lot, which isn't too surprising, I guess, if you know any of us. We talk about the government, about politics, about the Lord Ruler.
What about him?
Well, we don't like some of the things he's done with the Final Empire.
So you do want to overthrow him?
Ellen gave her a strange look. And I gave the page a strange look, too.
Vin just look. We had that previous thought that she's like, well, maybe I can try and convince him to do more. So she's got that in her head, and she's not thinking very clearly. And she's excited to have some indication that he'll overthrow. So she doesn't even realize that saying overthrowing him is not a good idea at all. And this relates to how Elend himself has also revealed things to Vin that he shouldn't have, because also there's this I don't know, this trust that is overextended because of the feelings they have for each other, this giddiness and whatever. They're not really thinking, either of them. So you're both just like, oh, on both sides. I'm like, no, you don't say that. Oh, you don't. Okay, yeah.
Ah, young love. Overthrow him? What gave you that idea, Valette? He's the Lord Ruler. He's God. We can't do anything about him being in charge. No, my friends and I, we just wish the Final Empire could be a little different. We can't change things now, but maybe someday, assuming we all survive the next year or so, we'll be in positions to influence the Lord Ruler.
To do what?
Well, take those executions a few days ago. I don't see that they did any good. The Ska rebelled. In reprisal, the ministry executed a few hundred random people. What is that going to do besides make the populace more angry? So next time the rebellion will be bigger. Does that mean that the Lord Ruler will order more people beheaded? How long can that continue before there simply aren't any Ska left? Vin walked thoughtfully.
And what would you do, Ellen Venture, if you were in charge?
I don't know. I've read a lot of books, some that I'm not supposed to, and I haven't found any easy answers. But I'm pretty certain that beheading people won't solve anything. The Lord Ruler has been around for a long time. You'd think that he'd have found a better way, but anyway, we'll have to continue this later. He slowed, turning to look at her.
Time already?
Ellen nodded. I promised I'd meet them, and they kind of looked to me. I suppose I could tell them I'll be late.
Go drink with your friends. I'll be fine. I have a few more people I need to talk to anyway.
She did need to get back to work. Breeze and Doxson had spent hours planning and preparing the lies that she was supposed to spread, and they would be waiting for her report back at Clubs' shop after the party. Maybe I shouldn't worry about you so much. Who knows? Considering all of your political maneuvering, maybe House Renault will soon be the power in town, and I'll be a lowly beggar. I read that, and I was like, oh, that's what's going to happen. Careful there, Alan.
Bit too close to reality.
Yeah. Vin smiled and he bowed, winking at her, then was off toward the stairs. Vin walked slowly over to the balcony railing, looking down at the people dancing and dining below.
So he's not a revolutionary. Kelsey was right again. I wonder if he ever gets tired of that.
But still, she couldn't feel too disappointed with Elend. Not everyone was so insane that they'd think to overthrow their god emperor. The mere fact that Elend was willing to think for himself set him apart from the rest. He was a good man, one who deserved a woman who was worthy of his trust. Unfortunately, he had Vin.
So House Venture secretly mines the Lord Ruler's atium. They must be the ones who administer the pits of Hathsin. So, I mean, she thinks of, unfortunately, she's thinking of how unworthy of his trust she is, because now she's thinking about the secret she got from him. Even though she didn't manipulate him in order to get it, she knows there is like a breach of trust here, because she is going to report that, and she doesn't feel good about it.
Yeah.
But at least she is gonna. She's not gonna keep it to herself. Yeah.
Good, Vin.
Yeah, you can feel all ways about it, but there are bigger things at stake here.
It was a frighteningly precarious position for a house to be in. Their finances depended directly on pleasing the Lord Ruler. Ellen thought that he was being careful, but Vin was worried. He wasn't taking Shan Alariel seriously enough. Of that, Vin was certain. She turned, walking intently from the balcony and down to the main floor. She found Shan's table easily. The woman always sat with a large group of attendant noblewomen, presiding like a lord over his plantation. Vin hesitated. She had never approached Shan directly, but someone needed to protect Ellen. He was obviously too foolish to do it himself. Vin strode forward. Shan's terraceman studied Vin as she approached. He was so different from Sazed. He didn't have the same spirit. This man maintained a flat expression like some creature carved of stone. A few of the ladies shot disapproving glances toward Vin, but most of them, Shan included, ignored her. Vin stood awkwardly beside the table, waiting for a lull in the conversation. There was none. Finally, she just took a few steps closer to Shan.
Lady Shan?
Shan turned with an icy glare.
I didn't send for you, country girl. Yes, but I found some books like you. I no longer require your services. I can deal with Ellen Venture on my own. Now, be a good little twit and stop bothering me.
Vin stood, stunned.
But your plan? I said that you are no longer needed. You think I was harsh on you before, girl? That was when you were on my good side. Try annoying me now.
Vin wilted reflexively before the woman's demeaning gaze. She seemed disgusted, angry even. Jealous?
She must have figured it out. She finally realized that I'm not. Hey, that's so weird. Hey, I didn't realize that when I read it. She finally realized out.
What?
So this is a typo. She must have figured it out. So she's figured it out, right? She finally realized out that I'm not just playing with Ellen. What does it say for you?
Interesting. There's no typo here for me. She must have figured it out, Vin thought. She finally realized that I'm not playing with Ellen. How strange. Usually mine's the one with the typos and yours is the good one.
Mine's like the out made its way there. It's like, oops, yeah. And it seems like it's not because they were making a change at that specific point that there is a typo. So it's just there was no reason for. Maybe they were considering saying she finally figured it out. It's just cool to see where these things happen. Anyway, sorry about that. Listen, this is transformative content.
Yes,
it's part of the review. She must have figured it out. She finally realized that I'm not just playing with Ellen. She knows that I care for him and doesn't trust me to keep her secrets.
Vin backed away from the table. Apparently, she would have to use other methods to discover Shan's plans.
Okay,
that's suitably ominous, yeah?
Yeah. Question. Jealous? I don't know if there's jealousy. It's just like, it's irritation. Like, she's going to feel proud of herself for kind of bagging Ellen. So she'll jump to a bit of jealousy, but it's more like just resentment. Like, well, now you've messed up my plans.
Yeah. And if there's jealousy, it's that Ellen is a venture and not for Ellen specifically.
Yeah, and it would probably be jealousy under denial, because it's like, she thought that Vin was not good enough for him in any case, and now she's proven her wrong. So yeah, I guess there is cause for jealousy, but she would never want to admit that, because I can't be jealous of this country girl. That's just not right. And yeah, ominous. What are you feeling about these plans? Because I'm feeling like Ellen going, yeah, but just leave her. She's being full of it, and I feel like the other houses are a lot more dangerous to venture at the moment. Not just Shan. Shan seems like on a personal vendetta, whereas the other houses are more dangerous in that they're literally trying to destroy each other. So, what do you feel about Shan's plans?
I'm with Vin on this one. I'm trusting her instincts.
Yeah. I know that I should trust those instincts. I know that, but my feeling, I'm tempted to be like, So I know I'm wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know I'm wrong. It's weird. It's like I'm sitting in the wrongness.
I mean, I think it could be that the scorned lover relationship revenge just seems so petty when compared against the overthrowing of the Lord Ruler.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess that's it. Like, but it could be that she's doing this. It's all part of taking the whole house down. Why not? Why not just you make your plan personally affect Elend, and of course, bonus, it brings down his whole house and makes your house powerful. It makes sense. Those plans are real. I'm just tempted. I just feel like I'm tempted to be like Elend. It's just a feeling, which I find fascinating. And yeah, we don't know how she's going to figure out to discover Shan's plans. Good luck, Tin. I don't know.
And thus we get to the Elend POV.
Surprise!
Full disclosure, I don't remember what I did for his philosopher buddies. So, new voices. Yay!
Yeah, that's cool.
Especially now that I know their personalities a little bit more. I think that'll help me remember them for the future.
Yeah, they were just voices before. A voice. Like, you didn't really have exactly who was who. So
yeah. Despite what he often said, Alan Venture did not consider himself to be a rude man. He was more of a verbal philosopher. He liked to test and turn conversation to see how people would react. Like the great thinkers of old, he pushed boundaries and experimented with unconventional methods. Of course, he thought, holding his cup of brandy up before his eyes, inspecting it musingly, most of those old philosophers were eventually executed for treason. Not exactly the most successful role models. His evening political conversation with his group was finished, and he had retired with several friends to keep Lacal's Gentleman's Lounge, a small chamber adjacent to the ballroom. It was furnished in deep green colors, and the chairs were comfortable. It would have been a nice place to read had he been in a slightly better mood. Justes sat across from him, puffing contentedly on his pipe. It was good to see the young Lacal looking so calm. These last few weeks had been difficult for him. House war. What terrible timing. Why now? Things were going so well. Teldon returned with a refilled drink a few moments later. You know, any one of the servants in here would have brought you a new drink. I felt like stretching my legs, Teldon said, settling into the third chair. And you flirted with no less than 3 women on your way back. I counted. Teldon smiled, sipping his drink. The large man never simply sat, he lounged. Teldon could look relaxed and comfortable no matter what the situation, his sharp suits and well-styled hair enviably handsome. Maybe I should pay just a little more attention to things like that. Valette suffers my hair the way it is, but would she like it better if I had it styled?
No. Look, it was cute. It was nauseatingly cute. I was like, oh, look at you. Like, again, I don't know. I guess it's because I just don't really like him. So him being cute is not, it's not like me being excited for Vin that he's being cute about it. So if I was invested the way Vin was, I'd be like, oh, yeah. But to me, I'm just like, ugh.
Yeah, no, if it were Spook, we'd be all about that.
Aw. Yeah, we'd be like, oh, look at you, Spook. And I'm just like, okay, relax. But yeah, there you go. He has affection for, look, it's real affection for Vin. Come on. He's thinking about that. It's like, oh no, I need to be better for her. That was cute. It is cute. I'm just cute and cringe often go together.
And again, that passage up at the top about being a verbal philosopher, liking to test and turn conversations, I think that it really epitomizes what I was saying about being what he thinks a philosopher is rather than just being a philosopher.
Yes, exactly. I was actually holding back laughter when you did that whole passage there because it was just so on the so on point for what we were talking about earlier. It's just like, oh yes, that's what you are. A thinker.
Elend often intended to make his way to a stylist or tailor, but other things tended to steal his attention. Interestingly, I bet that there are ska tailors. It's a craft. A tailor is a craft, right?
Yeah.
That seems like it would be a wonderful opportunity for Elend to go speak with the ska. and learn about them.
Yeah, I mean, he is a bit of a rebel. So my immediate argument is, okay, wait, he's of this high house, like a proper, like of the nobility, he's the noblest. Okay, so him interacting with a Scar Tailor probably would not be, it would be unorthodox, but he is that much of a rebel, so it would make sense for him to be able to do that. It wouldn't be like completely out of the question. So I agree. And if he's so fascinated by the Scar, and he is very openly this philosopher, guys, seriously, more than, I mean, like being seen with your enemies and going off to drink with them all the time is not that much of a secret. Yeah, him going to a Scar Tailor would be a good idea for him to explore whether they're intelligent and things like that.
He'd get lost in his studies or spend too long reading, then find himself late for his appointments. Again. Elend is quiet this evening. Other groups of gentlemen sat in the dim lounge. The chairs were spread out enough to allow for private conversations. He's been like that a lot lately. Ah, yes. Elend knew them well enough to take the hint. Now, see, why must people be like this? If you have something to say, why not simply say it? Politics, my friend. We are, if you haven't noticed, noblemen. Elend rolled his eyes. All right, I'll say it, Justesse replied, running his hand through his hair, a nervous habit that Elend was sure contributed somewhat to the young man's growing baldness. You've been spending a lot of time with that Renault girl, Elend. There's a simple explanation for that. You see, I happen to like her. Not good, Elend. Not good. Why? You seem pleased enough to ignore class variances yourself, Teldon. I've seen you flirt with half of the serving girls in the room. I'm not heir to my house. And these girls are trustworthy. My family hired these women. We know their houses, their backgrounds, and their allegiances. What are you implying? Something strange about that girl, Elend, Justesse said. He'd gone back to his normal nervous self, his pipe sitting unnoticed in its holder on the table. Teldon nodded. She's got too close to you too quickly, Elend. She wants something. Like what? Elend! You can't avoid the game by saying you don't want to play. It'll find you. Renault moved into town just as house tensions began to rise, and he brought with him an unknown scion, a girl who immediately began to woo the most important and available young man in Luthadel. Doesn't that seem odd to you? Actually, I approached her first, if only because she had stolen my reading spot. Quick note here.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of love how the arguments that they're making make sense, even though we know that Elend was the one to approach the first 2 times.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Yes.
I love the seeds of doubt, and I love from an outsider's perspective, it could be.
Yeah, exactly. And I love that because of the way the politics is, because of the way the court maneuvering is, anything is possible. Anything like that. It's not unthinkable that she would figure out where his reading spot is, or have known and been told and informed, and she would go and manipulate him in that way. It's not unthinkable. So yeah, it's very, I do like it as well, that we're seeing both sides, and it doesn't seem that far-fetched that Vin is getting to know him too quickly, etc., etc.
And the really great thing here is that we've got Vin's POV. So in a small way, this is almost like watching a slow train wreck occur. In a great way, we are watching the doubt, and we know that it's unfounded. I'm here for it. Totally here for it.
I like knowing both sides. This is what you want the court intrigue to do with the characters, and as the reader, what it should give you, and it's delivering. I'm here for it too.
Doesn't that seem odd to you? Actually, I approached her first, if only because she had stolen my reading spot. But you have to admit that it's suspicious how quickly she latched onto you. If you're going to dabble with romance, Elend, you need to learn one thing. You can play with women if you want, but don't let yourself get too close to them. That's where the trouble starts. Follett is different. The other two shared a look, then Teldon shrugged, turning back to his drink. Justes sighed, then stood and stretched. Anyway, I should probably be going. What I really like about this line is we don't know yet why he's going, but we find out why he's going.
Yeah, we figure it out. Yeah. We get told. I'm okay with that being revealed quite quickly afterwards.
Yes, agreed. One more drink. Justes ran a hand through his hair. You know how my parents are on ball nights. If I don't go out and bid farewell to at least some of the guests, I'll be nagged about it for weeks. The young man wished them good night, walking back toward the main ballroom. Teldon sipped his drink, eyeing Elend. I'm not thinking about her. What then? The meeting tonight. I'm not sure if I liked how it went. Bah, you're getting just as bad as Justes. What happened to the men who attended these meetings just to relax and enjoy time with his friends? He's worried. Some of his friends might end up in charge of their houses sooner than he expected, and he's worried that none of us are ready. Teldon snorted. Don't be so melodramatic, he said, smiling and winking to the serving girl who came to clear away his empty cups. I have a feeling that this is all going to blow over. In a few months, we'll look back and wonder what all the fretting was about. Kael Tekiel won't look back, Elend thought. The conversation waned and Teldon eventually excused himself. So, important to note, these last several passages, I think, are Elend at his most likable thus far. Because this concern seems more genuine.
Yeah, it is. It's real. I wasn't satisfied with his reaction to I wanted more from his reaction to the headings. Like, I wanted more passion there. But, you know, I understand his position the way Vin understands it. That, you know, like, not everyone's insane enough to think about, you know, challenging their God Emperor. But yeah, this is that. Look, as much as we're mocking him about the way he's trying to be a philosopher, he is still thinking about things and does still care. That he does have genuine concern.
Yes. And it is in these interactions that he seems to drop the philosopher-ness.
Yeah, exactly. He's forgotten, oops, I'm supposed to be a philosopher or whatever. He's like, no, it's like, actually, yeah, he's just going to now express being worried instead of being a stoic man and whatever about finding the solutions. It's more like, no, I'm worried that, yeah. But then it just, the conversation just goes. I'm like, excuse me, we can't talk about more. It's like, yeah, they just kind of left it.
The conversation waned and Teldon eventually excused himself. Elend sat for a while longer, opening The Dictates of Society for another read, but he had trouble concentrating. He turned the cup of brandy in his fingers, but didn't drink much. I wonder if Follett's out yet. He had tried to find her once his meeting was over, but apparently she'd been in a private gathering of her own. That girl is far too interested in politics for her own good. Perhaps he was jealous. Only a few months in court, and she already seemed to be more competent than he was. She was so fearless, so bold, so interesting. She didn't fit any of the courtly stereotypes he'd been taught to expect. Could Justes be right? She certainly is different from other women. She did imply there were things about her I didn't know. Elend, she said it. She didn't imply it.
Yeah, she literally did. Yeah, so it's like, and also that means that you trust her, even though she said there's like, why would you trust her? She said that she's lying. Basically, is what he's trying to say. Like, she implied she's lying. So, but that requires you to trust what she's saying.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? It's weird. It's cool to see him as blinded as Vin is as well. Like, yes, there's doubts and things. People are trying to say, look, Elend is just a normal, like the others. He's just normal. He's a general nobleman, which means he's scum. And Vin had he's not like that kind of reaction. And he's having the same sort of thing. But yeah, I like the parallels. That's why I actually really do like this POV shift or addition, I suppose.
Don't you see, Kitteh? Now that you've told me I shouldn't trust you, when you do betray me, I'll know I can trust you.
Haha, exactly. See? You can always trust a liar to lie, right?
Ellen pushed the thought out of his mind. Villette was different, true, but she was also innocent in a way. Eager, full of wonder and spunk. He worried about her. She obviously didn't know how dangerous Luthadel could be. There was so much more to politics in the city than simple parties and petty intrigues. What would happen if someone decided to send a Mistborn to deal with her and her uncle? Renaud was poorly connected, and none of the court members would blink twice at a few assassinations in Felice. Did Villette's uncle know how to take the proper precautions? Did he even worry about Allomancers? Ellen sighed. He'd just have to make certain that Villette left the area. That was the only option. So he's worried. He's worried about his crush. A little bit condescending, sure, but he's worried. Comes from a decent place.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, it is condescending. It's like you're just admiring how she's very quickly become astute at politics, but also knows she doesn't know what's going on around her. So, yeah. And listen, Vin has the same sort of thing that Elend is not putting enough thought into things. Elend is also hasty and things like that. So they both have these thoughts about each other. Look at them. Look at them. Oh God. Anyway, yeah, that's the feeling. Is just look at them. What else? Yeah, we like that he's concerned. And my heart was just like, oh, she's literally. I love the dramatic irony of like, do they worry about Mistborn? It's like, she's a Mistborn, bro. I can't wait for you to know. I really want to tell you. I really do.
Yep. And we're going to talk about whether or not he finds out.
Yeah.
By the time his carriage reached Keep Venture, Elend had decided that he'd drunk too much. He made his way up to his rooms, looking forward to his bed and pillows. The hallway to it, this part of the chapter, by the way, Sanderson does a really wonderful job of making it drag on and on and on, and you really feel how tired he is. Elend is. It's well done, Sanderson. To be clear, I'm not using drags on as a pejorative. Elend is very tired and wants to go to bed, but things keep happening.
Yeah.
So, well done. The hallway to his bedroom passed by his father's study. The door was open, and light still spilled out despite the late hour. Elend tried to walk quietly on the carpeted floor, but he'd never really been all that stealthy. Elend, come in here. Elend sighed softly. Lord Strathventure didn't miss much. He was a tin-eye. His senses were so keen that he'd probably heard Ellen's carriage approaching outside. If I don't deal with him now, he'll send the servants to pester me until I come down to speak with him. He turned and walked into the study. His father sat in his chair, speaking quietly with Tensoon, the Venture Khandra. Oh, I expected Kitteh to say something there.
I wanted you to finish it. That's why I'm going to.
Okay. Yeah. I'll finish it and then we'll talk about it. Okay. Ellen still wasn't used to the creature's most recent body, which had once belonged to a servant in the Hastings household. Ellen shivered as it noticed him. It bowed, then retreated from the room.
Okay, now I'll say. Okay, so we went from, like, we know that there is a Khandra. We know that what's the name? Renaud is a Khandra, right? But we don't think of him as it. He is him. He's not a creature to us. We knew he was some kind of creature, right? But he was still himself and sentient in our opinion. But the way that he, in his mind, this point of view, gives us the it factor. And that is so weird. And also, most recent body. So, okay, we know that it can take on different bodies. And makes you wonder, okay, wait, so it just takes the dead body and then, like, reanimates it? Was it like some sort of zombie thing? You know, and yeah, it was a servant in the Hastings house. So that makes sense that they do have noble houses have Khandra available to them for these purposes. Very useful. But also, were they around before the deepness?
Yeah, and this idea of a venture Khandra.
Yeah. It's like their creature, their dragon, the venture, the house venture. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, it's so cool. I want to know more.
The implications of that is, okay, so everybody has Khandras, I suppose. All of the houses. So how could they be being used? Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Elend leaned against the doorframe. Straff's chair sat in front of several shelves of books, not a single one of which Elend was confident his father had ever read. Interesting. That's very interesting.
Yeah, what did you think of that? I was wondering, like, I don't know, Elend.
I mean, my takeaway from Straff's first chapter was that he was a very, very, very intelligent person.
Yeah, and wouldn't be stupid to, like, he wouldn't dismiss the knowledge of books. He would not do that. That's a disadvantage. Yeah.
Especially if he pays attention to legends regarding secret ways to take down the Lord Ruler.
Yeah. So what? He doesn't read in public like you, Elend. And it's like, no, he's never read. He's not a reader. Okay. What do you think he does in his study?
Not everything has to be so damn performative, Elend.
Yeah. Melodramatic.
No, I think Venture has read them, and the room was lit by 2 lamps, their hoods mostly closed to allow out only a bit of light. You attended the ball tonight. What did you learn? Elend reached up, rubbing his forehead. That I have a tendency to drink far too much brandy. Straff was not amused by the comment. He was the perfect imperial nobleman, tall, firm-shouldered, always dressed in a tailored vest and suit. You met with that woman again. Valette? Yes, not for as long as I would have liked, though. I forbade you from spending time with her. I said that he probably said that. Minnie called it.
Not Minnie. Oh, yeah, I guess Minnie, yeah.
As far as we can tell, he didn't say he would have her killed, but he did say, don't spend any time with her. Yes, I remember. Straff's expression darkened. He stood, walking over to the desk. Oh, Elend, when are you going to get over this childish temperament you have? Do you think I don't realize that you act foolishly simply to spite me? Actually, I got over my childish temperament some time ago, Father. It just seems that my natural inclinations work even better to annoy you. I wish I had known that earlier. I could have saved a great deal of effort in my younger years. His father snorted, then held up a letter. I dictated this to Staxels a short time ago. It is an acceptance of a lunch appointment with Lord Tegas tomorrow afternoon. If a house war does come, I want to make certain we are in a position to destroy the Hastings as quickly as possible, and Tegas could be a strong ally. He has a daughter. I'd like you to dine with her at the luncheon. I'll consider it. I'm not sure what kind of state I'll be in tomorrow morning. Too much brandy, remember? You'll be there, Elend. This is not a request. Elend bit back a retort. A part of him wanted nothing more than to snap back at his father, to make a stand, not because he cared about where he dined, but because of something far more important. Hastings is the second most powerful house in the city. If we made an allegiance with them, together we could keep Luthadel from chaos. We could stop the house war, not inflame it. I had a couple things to say there. One, I guess I had mistakenly thought that Alariel was the second strongest house. Doesn't matter.
Maybe it was because of Shan. You just thought of Shan as formidable and all of that. So, yeah. And maybe they're just so close that it really, sometimes it doesn't matter.
Yeah, when you get into the upper echelons of power, what does it matter?
It's not very accurate.
$1 billion, $2 billion. You're in the billions. The other thing was, he says he hates politics. He hates it all so much. And yet, here he is having a thought about politics, just his preferred method of politics.
Alliances that are not, it's not undercutting, it's actually like a positive alliance. Like, obviously they're trying to make an alliance with this other house, but he's like, no, what if we did an allegiance with Hastings? Like, we're trying to fight with each other. What if we unite against the Lord Ruler? Well,
collaborative politics rather than adversarial politics.
There you go. Yeah.
So it's just interesting to me. I don't think he dislikes politics quite as much as he thinks he does.
Yeah. He's frustrated with the game. He's frustrated with the principles that the structure. He just wants to play it a different way.
Yeah. That was what his books had done to him. They had changed him from a rebellious fop into would-be philosopher. Unfortunately, he'd been a fool for so long. Was it any wonder that Straff hadn't noticed the changes in his son? Elend himself was only starting to realize it. Straff continued to glare at him, and Elend looked away. I'll think about it. Straff waved his hand, dismissively turning. Trying to salvage something of his pride, Elend continued. You probably don't have to worry about the Hastings. It seems that they're making preparations to bolt the city. What? Where did you hear that? At the ball. I thought you said you didn't learn anything important. Now, see, I never said anything of the sort. I just didn't feel like sharing with you. Lord Venture frowned. I don't know why I care. Anything you learn is bound to be worthless. I tried to train you in politics, boy, I really did, but now, well, I hope I live to see you dead because this house is in for dire times if you ever take control.
Damn. What a line to get from your father. I was like, geez, okay, like they've got this antagonistic relationship or whatever, and he's just like, yeah, you know what? Oh my God, I just really hope that you die. Okay, cool. Like, we knew he wasn't a great guy, but damn. I think even Tywin doesn't want his kids immediately to die.
Yeah, he doesn't want to be responsible for Tyrion's death, but he wants Tyrion dead. Although he does put Tyrion into situations hoping that he'll die, like when he sends him into battle with the Mountain Clansmen.
He's not going to do it.
He does not want his other kids to die.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand why Straff can't simply disinherit Elend, though.
Yeah, if he's so... No, that would be messy, okay? Just having him dead is so much easier and more efficient. Oh no, the tragedy. Somebody killed him. Anyway, and then you move on. Whereas, like, disinheriting is scandalous.
There are two other things here that I recall from Brandon Sanderson's lectures. One is he, at one point, talks about a technique, I think it was called kicking the dog, where it's something to the effect of, how do you know, how do you make it clear that your villain is evil? Have him kick a puppy.
Yeah.
Or something to that effect. And I think we're seeing that lesson in action here with having Venture say, I hope I outlive you, son. That's very much this guy is evil trait.
Like, yeah, that's just pure. Like, you're willing to have just, it would be better off to have your son dead. And you not only do you feel that, you say it to him.
Yeah. And then the other thing is one of Sanderson's other lessons, if I recall correctly, was about making sure that characters all sound differently from each other to help differentiate. And Elend has a very specific way of speaking, I've noticed, where he'll have those. Now, see.
Yeah, it's his little
isms.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I saw that again. Like he's in this POV. I guess I just noticed it even more. Like, he always says now see when he's talking to Vin and things, but we've seen it repeated enough times in front of us that I think it's worth noting now. Yeah, just writing technique there that people have a way of speaking, and he's made them more realistic by giving them mannerisms. Nice.
Yes, well done. Okay, last thing on that passage. Straff says, anything you learn is bound to be worthless. You and I know that the Hastings are not actually leaving. So, do you think Straff is going to presume as well that they are not leaving purely because he's getting the information from Elend and therefore inadvertently giving him an advantage?
Yeah, I feel like it's added to the doubt. It adds to Straff's doubt. So he could have been maybe duped, or at least seen it as a possibility. But the way he takes Ellen's information, it seems like that would count as a negative. He'd be like, oh, okay. So if Ellen's hearing it, it's not true. So I agree. I think it would put him at an advantage. There's still no confirmation either way, I suppose, and there hasn't been the effect of those documents yet. So he could change his mind if he got spies to look into it, and then they were manipulated by what Dox is doing. So that would work. But as it stands, yeah, I think he has an advantage. He doesn't believe that Hastings would. Why do I always feel tempted to say Hastings? That Hastings would leave. He doesn't think so.
Wasn't there an actual House Hastings, like in Europe?
I don't know. Yes, it's because I have extensive knowledge. That's why. No, I think we've probably heard something. It seems like a thing. Yeah.
I know more than you think, Father. Straff laughed, walking back to sit in his chair. I doubt that, boy. Why, you can't even bet a woman properly. The last and only time I know about you trying it, I had to take you to the brothel myself. Elend flushed. Careful. He's bringing that up on purpose. He knows how much it bothers you. Get to bed, boy. You look terrible. Elend stood for a moment, then finally ducked out into the hallway, sighing quietly to himself. That's the difference between you and them, Elend. Those philosophers you read, they were revolutionaries. They were willing to risk execution. You can't even stand up to your father. He walked tiredly up to his rooms, where, oddly, he found a servant waiting for him. Yes? Lord Elend, you have a guest. At this hour? It's Lord Justice Lecal, my lord. Elend cocked his head slightly. What in the Lord Ruler's name? He's waiting in the sitting room, I assume? Yes, my lord. Elend turned regretfully away from his chambers, walking back down the hallway. He found Justice waiting impatiently. Justice? Elend said tiredly, walking into the sitting room. I hope you have something very important to tell me. Justice shuffled uncomfortably for a moment, looking more nervous than usual. What? It's about the girl. Valette? You came here to discuss Valette? Now? You should trust your friends more. Elend snorted. Trust your knowledge of women? No offense, Justice, but I think not. I had her followed, Elend. What? I had her carriage followed. Or at least I had someone watch for it at the city gates. She wasn't in it when it left the city. What do you mean? She wasn't in the carriage, Elend. While her terraceman was producing papers for the guards, my man snuck up and peeked through the carriage window, and there was nobody inside. The carriage must have dropped her off somewhere in town. She's a spy from one of the other houses. They're trying to get at your father through you. They created the perfect woman to attract you. Dark-haired, a bit mysterious, and outside the regular political structure. They made her lowborn enough that it would be a scandal for you to be interested in her, then set her on you. Justice, this is ridiculous. Elend, tell me one more time. How did you meet her the first time? She was standing on the balcony. In your reading spot. Everyone knows that's where you usually go. Coincidence? Elend closed his eyes. Not Valette. She can't be a part of all of this. But immediately another thought occurred to him. I told her about the adium! How could I be so stupid? It couldn't be true. He wouldn't believe that he had been duped so easily. But could he risk it? He was a bad son, true, but he was no traitor to the house. He didn't want to see Venture fall. He wanted to lead it someday so that perhaps he'd be able to change things. He bade Justice farewell, then walked back to his rooms with a distracted step. He felt too tired to think about house politics. However, when he finally got into bed, he found that he couldn't sleep. Eventually, he rose, sending for a servant. Tell my father I want to make a trade. I'll go to his luncheon tomorrow, just as he wants. In exchange, tell him I want to borrow a couple of spies so that they can follow someone for me. Okay. Of the many things, where to start? First off, can Elend trust the spies? Are they his spies or are they his father's spies? Second, of all the things that he might be able to discover from this, all right, he might be able to discover she's Mistborn. That does not mean he discovers that she is Ska.
Yeah.
He might discover that she is Ska. That does not mean that he discovers she is Mistborn. He might discover all of the above. What else?
Oh my gosh, yeah, you might discover all of the above. Look, okay, are we assuming if he knows she's Scar, he realizes she is of a thieving crew?
Entirely possible.
Yeah.
Which we know he was interested in and wants to ask questions of. This could be a positive.
Yeah, and he would then say, wait a sec, that would give him to the thing, oh wait, no, she's not a house spy. Which one's worse for him? That she's a house spy or that she's a criminal?
Because he is so into her, it would be worse for Elend to discover that Valette is spying on Elend.
Yeah.
To get at Elend rather than to
get at the nobility. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. So
because spying on Elend deliberately to get adventure is personal. Spying on the nobility writ large to overthrow the Lord Ruler, it's not about Elend at that point.
Yeah, it's understandable. And also it's like she wasn't looking for him immediately. It wasn't that sort of thing. I do feel this some revelation does have to come. There has to be this kind of confrontation at some point. I don't know. We don't have very much longer in this book. What's happening? So yeah, I want this to happen quickly.
Yes.
Okay, I want him to figure it out, or her to be found out, and them to talk. I want that in the next chapter, but I don't know if that's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, surely there has to be time for the spy to follow and discover.
And there's always some sort of crap that can go down as well that just interrupts everything. So there is that. I'm excited. I'm excited to read the next chapter. That's it. Yes. And I guess that means success.
Well done.
Yeah. Very well done.
Oh gosh.
It's been quite a long episode.
It has been, but there was a lot, and I think much of the discussion was actually quite not bad.
Not bad at all.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We did the Kitteh plug halfway through the episode. I hope I don't cut it. I probably won't. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, bye.
Okay, thanks, bye.
Yeah. Like and subscribe, okay? Cool, thanks, bye.